Welcome everyone to tonight's Village Planning Commission meeting. I ask that everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jackie, can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Eric Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Joe Zappa.
Here.
Commissioner Jim Grabowski.
Here.
Commissioner Cheryl Mance. Commissioner Ryan Lane.
Here.
Trustee Craig Roberts.
Here.
President Jeff Knudsen.
Here. Okay, today we have a couple public hearings. The first one is a conditional use grant request to locate a thrift shop in the existing vacant northwest 53,182 square foot tenant space and including an area at the rear west side of the building for pickup and drop off of goods. The building is located at 601 Ryan Street. The property owner is Lake Country Square Center LLC. The applicant is Society of St. Vincent de Paul of Waukesha County, NCO Rodney Colburn. The property is zoned B1 Community Business District. I hereby open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here that wants to make a comment or anything like that as it relates to this public hearing? It has to deal with the old pick and save. Anyone at all? In the back? Please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Don Mahoney, 1048 Quinlan Drive in Pewaukee. I would object to it since it's using the store and the back. I just don't think it would be good for the neighborhood. And I'm not gonna go on and on. I think that's it in a nutshell. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Going once? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Latrice, 1150 East Wisconsin Avenue, Village of Pewaukee. I think it's an excellent idea. Building's been sitting there empty. You've got somebody that's gonna come in there. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores are neat and tidy, and they're kept up well, and the clientele there is any shopper, just as if it were the pick and save, or, there's, all different kinds of people that are bargain hunters and stuff, so I think a thrift store there would be an excellent idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment as it relates to the thrift store? Yes, ma'am.
Sandy Moncada, that's 276 North 2177 Spring Creek Drive, Pewaukee. I don't have a comment, I just have a question that I know you can't answer. Is this another nonprofit?
I don't know how they're organized, but I would assume that they are.
Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Rod Colburn, the 4156 South Freeland Court in New Berlin. I represent St. Vincent de Paul. We are a nonprofit organization. We don't look to split the whole building as nonprofit, just a portion that we can get. Taxes on.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else that has a question, comment? then I'm gonna close the public hearing for this particular one. Thank you for your comments. Item 2B is on a conditional use grant request to locate an automotive service business / facility, i.e. auto glass repair and replacement, in Unit A of the existing B5 Light Industrial Zone property, multi-tenant building located at 395 Forest Grove Drive. The property owner is 1505 LLC. The applicant is Glass America LLC and CO Regional Vice President Robert Simpson. I hereby open up the public hearing as it relates to that particular item. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? Anyone? Yes, Paul. I'm sorry.
All of the 327 Lookout Drive. The only question I got is another question. It listed an automobile service business. Is this other over and above the glass service, or is it just the glass service?
Yes.
It was confusing with up here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm closing that public hearing. Again, I thank you for your comments. And just so you know, there are cookies back there for anybody who wants them. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address for the record. I'm going to start over on this side of the room. Is there anybody on this side that has a comment at all? On anything at all? Factor game, whatever you want to comment on. Paul, I'll get to you. Yeah, go ahead, come on up.
No, go ahead.
No, ma'am, go ahead, you were first.
Bonnie Blue, 427 High Street. Here to comment on the proposed changes to section 40.33A, specifically new development density. I brought a map that's floated around a long time. My lot is less than a half acre. This is one right here, which means I can't have chickens, that's one thing. But if you'll see, most of the surrounding lots surrounding this area are actually larger than mine, especially ones on High Street or those on Evergreen Lane. My lot has a small single-family home and a detached 2.5 garage. Nothing exceptional. It's definitely a residential area. When I read the November 14th draft of the proposed changes, the maximum density was 6 units per square acre, when 50% or more of the adjoining land was zoned single-family residential, and 10 units per acre when it was less than 50% was adjoining, was less than residential. I had a hard time envisioning 2 more units on my lot, but I thought the Village Planning Commission and the Village Board were moving in the right direction by setting specific guidelines for developers to follow, and that they had heard the community's concern when it came to big development in residential areas. I was very disappointed when I read the draft for tonight's meeting that reflects a maximum density as 8 and 12 per acre. Applying the new densities to this particular property, which does directly affect me, and I know there's some other development, that would bring it up to, since it's 16 acres, approximately 128 units, which is very close to the revised Creek plan that they so disrespectfully presented to this commission and to those of us that happened to be in attendance. Suddenly the spire of Pewaukee was gone, and none of the church was going to be used for a memorial garden. That all went out the window when they realized they'd have to downsize their complex and zoning changes were not made. My preference would be 4 units per acre, 4 single-family homes with decent lot sizes. If we are truly interested in single-family home developments, let's have the densities reflect that. Let's look at what the existing infrastructure can support as far as sewage, water, EMS, all those things we need to consider. Please listen to the citizens and keep this as a good place to live. What I don't want to see is looking out my backyard and seeing this. This was one of the Capri drawings. And this isn't just for Capri, it's for anything else that abuts a residential area. We need to keep it residential. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on this side of the room that would like to make a comment at this time? I'm gonna go over to this side of the room now. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul, I forgot about you.
All over 327, that's looking good tonight to see. All over 327 Lookout Drive, I got a question on 5E, under old business. I think we've got an ordinance already, and I think we should have just stayed with it. It's nice to see we got a full board now, a full committee here tonight, which has to make a decision. I think the only reason this is on here is for one reason. And I don't think we should be changing this, because if we change it now, in 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, it's gonna be changed again, because somebody else comes in with a brainstorm idea of what they want to do. Another one on 6B is the sign code. Again, we have the sign code. And I don't know, if we keep changing this thing, pretty soon, we're gonna be signed from one end of the village to the other end of the village. And, I understand it's good for business to attract people, but if it's a well-run organization, I don't think they need signage at all, because they'll know, they'll be able to find it without the sign. And if, you know, they claim to put it so you can see on 16, I don't know how many people drove down 16, east or west. They don't know how you have time to look at the signs at 70 miles an hour. You know, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone on this side of the room? Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Hill, 303 Sunset Drive. A table of senior living opportunities in and around Lake Country has been provided, I believe, in your packet. The table provides the municipality, the facility name, address, number, and types of units and comments. As you review the comments, you will see many facilities under construction and more that are proposed. Actually, the table does not include 2 more possible facilities in Waukesha, since these are very recent announcements. On page 1 of 3, you will see a site called Dixon Hollow. I pointed that out because it's on Pilgrim Road, Menominee Falls. It sits right across from Brookfield, so I consider it fairly close. But more importantly, it's a 4-story building that looks very much like the drawing that last speaker pointed out. I encourage you to take a field trip and look at this building. It looks out of place, even though it's set back. It's on a heavily traveled road on a flat piece of property, and it still looks out of place. There is a reason that Capri presents their drawings looking from the top down. You will find that this is the only facility on your table for Menominee Falls, but if I were to add Menominee Falls, there'd be several more hundred units. There are saturated number of units for senior living. On page 3, you will see the total of all current and proposed units. In Lake Country, 10,766. The village and city of Pewaukee totals 1,213. The village alone totals 712. What is the saturation point? What will it look like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down? As you know, City of Pewaukee just approved 155 units, reduced from 187. Property size is 22.79, so this is 6.8 units per acre. Do we know how they came up with that size? Be interesting. Note that the numbers in the table do not include apartments and condos, which the village is littered with It would be welcoming to know that the village won't allow developers to coerce you into more high density, just because their pocketbook requires that. So I'm asking that you don't continue to approve more high density, non-owner occupied development.
Anyone else on this side of the room that would like to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Teresa Hoff, 1276 Timber Ridge here in Pewaukee. Just as a reminder, being that we're talking about density, I'd like to remind the Planning Commission of what I presented on 6/13 of this year regarding Kirkland Crossing, being 6/10 of a mile from the proposed St. Mary's, and we all know that that's why we're talking about density. At that location, they have a total of 12 acres, they have a total of 142 units, they have a total of 17 buildings, 5 are attached in some manner, 14 are 1-story, 2 are 2 and 3 stories, and 1 is a tall garage, 2 driveways, 1 main, 1 delivery. There are 58 parking spaces, there's a trees, a pond, a walking path to the shopping center, and there are still open green spaces for them to build on. So again, Kirkland Crossing is consistent with its immediate environment. It is also surrounded by multiple family condos and apartments, local businesses, restaurants, and a shopping center. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone in the room that have not made a comment that would like to at this time? This is your opportunity. No? Okay, thank you for your comments. We'll move on. Item 4 is approval of the regular planning commission meeting, dated November 14th, 2019. Hope everyone's had a chance to read them over, look at them. Are there any corrections, comments as to the way they are presented this evening? If there are none, then I will look for a motion to move it as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby passed. Item 5A, old business. Review, discussion, and possible recommendation to village board regarding zoning code language changes to chapter 40, article 6, division 3 through 7, i.e. the R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5 zoning districts pertaining to, among other things, possibly construction of detached garages, accessory storage structures, and open space requirements in village single-family residential zoning districts. Mary, good night.
Right. This is, again, a discussion about prospective changes to the R5 zoning district in follow-up to the last 2 planning commission meetings where you've worked on this language and it's continued to evolve. And this edition, I think, reflects most of what you left staff with as far as your intentions as to additional modifications to try and finalize this. So the language that's in front of you speaks uniquely to the R5 district, but it is agendized, and the report does state that the intention is that this language will be incorporated in all of the R districts, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 districts. So with that, I'm gonna go down through the changes just to kind of reiterate what we had, I think, settled on previously, and to make sure that I cover any of the additions or changes that have been made since last month. So to begin with, we're going to say that all new residential home construction shall include at least 1 enclosed garage structure, not less than 576 square feet in area, not more than 1,200 square feet. So the not more than 1,200 square feet is new. That was part of last month's discussion about capping the size. We do cap the size of the detached garage, but we didn't address the attached garages, and there was an express desire to do that. So the 1,200 square feet that I've put in there is a number that approximates an ordinary 3-stall garage. that's just guidance for you there. Then we're gonna go on to say that no detached garage can exceed 900 square feet in size. There shall be no more than one detached garage structure on any property. All garages must have direct and paved driveway access, not less than 8 feet wide. I used 8 feet. We had talked about a couple of different numbers, so the commission should be aware and let me know if that's not what you want to see. 8 feet wide, extending to each of the overhead doors of the garage, extending from a designated adjacent public or private road or alleyway. All paved parking and drive surfaces have to be offset from the side and rear lot lines by not less than 5 feet. Paving of driveways will be completed within 3 months of completion of any garage, unless an extension to a specific alternative date is first granted by the village administrator for good cause. Lastly, garages are not to be used for any dwelling, home office, home occupation, or business use of any sort, except as may otherwise be permitted under the village code. So now addressing properties with area greater than 2.5 acres. They're permitted a detached garage or an accessory storage structure greater than 900 square feet or greater than 192 square feet in area if they're given an approval by the planning commission through conditional use. So it's consistent with what was in there previously in terms of allowing a larger detached garage on 2.5 acres or more, but now we're incorporating that flexibility provision for the accessory structure as well, and it says or, it doesn't say and, so it's a larger garage or a larger accessory storage structure by conditional use grant. It's for the commission to decide whether that should say and or should it say or like I've proposed. Effective screening plans, implementation of them may be required as a condition of a conditional use grant to mitigate the impacts of larger structures. No approval granted by the planning commission for a larger detached garage or storage structure can result in an excess of first floor total building area greater than the maximums established below. So that's something new too that we'll get to as we roll down here. Just a technical change in paragraph B there. So we talked about this last month. The commission seemed to endorse the idea of incorporating two types of regulation in our residential districts. One is a minimum open space requirement, meaning literally a green space, pervious surface area, open space. And also incorporating a maximum building coverage ratio, meaning what is the maximum footprint of all of the buildings on a lot going to be. And so I've tackled those questions with the following suggestions. First of all, with respect to minimum open space, that the minimum be 30% for all lots. Then with respect to maximum building coverage, that the combined total first floor area of all the buildings on a lot. So if you have a house with an attached garage, that's one footprint. If you have an detached accessory storage structure, that's an additional footprint. And if you have a detached garage, that's an additional footprint. The cumulative square footage of those footprints, okay? That's the maximum building coverage ratio. What I've suggested is that we use 30% for lots that are less than 20,000 square feet in area, 25% for lots that are between 20 and 1 acre, and 20% for lots that are an acre or more. And I can give you a couple of ideas of how that works. If you have a 10,000 square foot lot, for instance, 30 square feet, 30% maximum building coverage would give you 3,000 square feet of first floor area to work with on a 10,000 square foot lot. On that same lot, you would then be required to set aside 3,000 square feet minimum as green space. So now between those two, we've used up 6,000 square feet of area. you have 10,000 square feet, so you now have 4,000 to work with. That will be what you can use for driveways, sidewalks, patios, that sort of thing. So that's how that number would shake out with respect to a 10,000 square foot lot. If you had a 1 acre lot, again, applying the 30% maximum floor space coverage, you could cover up to 1 acre. Pardon me?
For an acre, it'd be 20%.
Yeah, for an acre, oh, I'm sorry, I'm using 40,000 square foot lot, so I'm not up to the acre.
Okay.
But on a 40,000 square foot lot, you get up to 12,000 feet of first floor building footprint, 12,000 minimum green space, and then you have, that remnant space to work with in terms of your driveways, parking, sidewalks, and so forth. Okay?
So on a 1 acre lot, if you have 1,000 square feet, well, that'd be pretty big in a house. But if you have 1,000,
Yeah.
12,000 square foot house, is that what you're saying?
So what are you looking for?
12,000 square foot house.
how much, how big of a combination, if you had a garage built into the house, you're talking first floor? only?
Yes. The footprint of the buildings.
Okay, so footprint
Period.
of the
Any
building,
building,
so if you have 900 square feet on a 1 acre lot, so you could still put another garage up that's 900 square feet?
a detached
Or I mean,
garage,
192,
that would be your accessory storage structure.
well, actually, not, yeah. We don't say how big of a garage you can put on on the smaller lots. You do state, okay, so 900 square feet is the maximum size garage. Correct?
Detached.
Detached, right.
Right.
With,
Unless you have two
with
and a
an
half-
existing garage that you have on the house,
Correct.
or in the house, however you want to do it.
Yep.
So on a 1 acre, you could do that?
On any size lot, you're allowed a detached garage up to 900 square feet.
So if somebody has a 1/4 acre or a 1/2 acre, that's when the percentage is
Yeah.
taken, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can do it as long as it stays within a.
I wanted to make sure there was gonna be green space.
Right. So,
The 30%
Exactly.
green space applies regardless of the size of the lot, right?
it does.
And they still meet the setbacks.
Setbacks inside, all still apply, there's no changes on that.
No, so those become, sort of a de facto part of the 30% right away.
Right.
Because you've got to meet those, open space. They do have driveways that cut through them, they do have sidewalks that cut through them, so those don't get counted as green space.
Do you have anything more?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So with respect to building height, we had established that would be 15 feet at last month's discussion. Minimum building offsets, wanted to clarify that these offsets apply not only for accessory storage structures, but also for detached garages. And those are the only changes. So with that, I'll turn it over to the commission to see if you have further thoughts on it.
One other question. On the one you just stated, the height of the accessory structure shall not exceed 15. What's the maximum height on a garage?
15 feet.
So accessory and a garage, you're considering as one.
Right.
On a detached.
Yeah, detached, that's what I meant, detached garage, sorry.
It might not hurt to clarify that in the language, just to say detached accessory storage structure.
Because on the first page, you can differentiate accessory structures and garages.
So I will, put both of those in that sentence, so it's clear that it applies to detached garages as well.
So, if I wanted to higher my build, I wanted to make my garage higher, I couldn't go any higher than 50 feet.
Attached to your house.
Huh?
Attached to your house.
No, detached, that's
A
right.
really long
detached.
carport.
Build a breezeway.
Yeah. I have a question. I don't remember talking about home occupation in use of garages.
It wasn't there previously.
I mean, I would throw it out to everybody. I just think that to me is a little vague and, you know, I mean, just down the road from us, there's a guy that I know operates a little wood shop out of his garage. Does this mean that that's not allowed anymore moving forward?
This doesn't actually change anything. We have a section in code. It's in all of our R districts. And it addresses home occupations and professional offices incidental to principal residential use. So this is the prevailing language that controls home occupations in the village, in residential districts. I only reiterated that you're subject to these rules.
Okay.
As far as how you use your garage, if you're gonna try and put a home occupation in there.
So that's nothing really new.
It's nothing new.
Okay.
So
So
there
you have a
have-
neighbor who's doing a wood shop, he's probably okay, as long as he's not conducting client business or conducting retail sales, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm guessing there's probably more than one of those that we're gonna.
So
fly
stop
under the radar.
I was gonna make a door, but it's okay.
Just don't mention his address.
Cheryl, you have a question?
I have two questions, actually. Mary, where is it that the garage has to be built within a certain period of time after the home is completed?
The garage doesn't have to be
You meant
built
the driveway.
within a certain time. If it's attached, it has to be built before you get your occupancy permit. Or the
But
house
you
is
can't build the garage before the house.
Right, okay, I saw it. And then the driveway, where is it that the driveway has to be put in? Then,
3 months.
First page. Garages shall have direct and paved driveway access not less than 8 feet in width, extending each door to door.
but a time frame. I'm looking for the time frame. I don't see it.
Yeah, because you
Did I
mentioned that when
miss
you were
it?
saying.
You mentioned 3 months. We talked about it last time.
Where is it? Yeah, she mentioned. I'd like to see the time frame extended out. Let's say a home is done in, completed in November, let's say. I think it'd be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to have the driveway put in within 3 months. I'd like to see that extended to like 9 months,
You said a year last year.
or a year. Yeah, either or.
I'm wide open to whatever you guys decide is the right period of time. I don't have any.
1 year is good.
A year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with a year.
Okay. And then my second question, on the first page, last paragraph B, it has non-storage related accessory structures. What do you envision that being? Like a doghouse or?
No, non-storage related accessory structure would be, like a gazebo.
The shisha.
That's storage. You know, basketball, hoop, although those are regulated separately under recreational structures in our districts. Gazebo is the one that really comes to mind, arbor,
Arbors.
things like that.
Okay, do we wanna limit the amount, the number here? Where if it's more than one, let's say limit it to one, and if it's more than one, then they could come before the planning commission? 'Cause I can see just too much, you know, if they have an accessory structure and then more than one non-storage related accessory structure, that could really
we start getting too
Yeah.
much into Big Brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you got the 30%, you have to have.
I don't know if I've seen houses with multiple gazebos.
But it could be all different types of,
Yeah.
it was just a thought.
I think the percentages on whoever just said that, I think that kind of limits that, right? I mean, there's some guardrails there.
You said room for one, and they can come for any accessory structure?
No, keep the one accessory structure, I'm talking about the non-storage related accessory structures. Also limit that to one.
I think between the setbacks and the percentages, you've got limitations that have already been applied.
Just to kind of clarify, because it probably doesn't come through here, but in my mind, as I'm thinking about how we apply the ordinance, I would not have intended to apply the, a pervious deck, for instance, as part of the, building footprints maximum. I would not include deck as long as it's pervious. I would include.
Can't count as green space though.
I would have, counted it as green space.
If it's impervious?
If it's pervious.
Oh, pervious, okay.
Right. If it's a patio, not green space. So as far as non-storage related accessory structures, I would not have expected to include those either as a part of the maximum building footprint area. I would not include gazebos in that number. I would not include a trellis or an arbor, things of that sort. So that's how I would apply it. If you think that needs to be clarified in here, I can certainly do that.
You wouldn't include, like, if the deck comes off the second level, that wouldn't be part of the first floor footprint either.
No.
Any other questions or additions?
This is just discussion, we're not looking for a motion or anything.
For the village board.
We're prepared at this point, if the commission is inclined, to go ahead and make a recommendation. It's agendized for action.
That was teed up for you.
Yeah, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the changes and send to the village board for approval.
Including the ones we have tonight.
Including this evening's.
Second, Mary did a good job, capturing our discussion, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby approved. This is sent to the village board.
I was gonna run through multiple
Item 5B, review, discussion, and possible recommendation to the village board regarding the prospective zoning code language changes, again to chapter 40, article 6, division 16 of the village code, i.e. the IPS institutional and public service zoning district, to enact, among other things, possibly density limitations or residential living uses, including, for instance, but not necessarily limited to housing for the elderly. Trustee Roberts asked to speak first, Mary, so go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I just, wanted to bring something up to the commission for thought and consideration, is, before Mary starts getting into the details of the changes she had here. Because really, we have two things we have to do. One is we have to take a look at the definitions of the different types of usage, and then we have to look at density within each of those. And as I was looking at it, kind of went back to the overarching, it's called purpose, I call it a definition of IPS. And, what it talks about is, it defines areas that are public, quasi-public, or institutional uses, all right? So then as I started, really looking at the entire ordinance that we have here, there's two definitions that I really question if they really meet the definition of institutional. The first one being clinics. Now, in the last 2 years, we've approved what I would call clinics, 3 of them, and they all exist in the commercial business districts. The freestanding emergency room, the clinic for children's hospital, and then right next to it, the dentist's office. All 3 of those were in the last 2 years, all of them are in retail commercial areas. None of them are in institutional. And clinics, by the definition, when we dealt with this before, they're ambulatory, they're outpatient, there's nothing institutional about it in my definition. So I would say, should that even really be there? And so I want to kind of throw that out there. But the other really comes down to the definition of housing for the elderly. And again, it's a very broad category. That could be, you know, a senior condominium development for 55 and older. Is that really institutional? Is that residential? And even when we get into like nursing home, and we're kind of lumping nursing home and housing for the elderly, I look at it and say, well, and this is really kind of what spurred my thought, is the way Mary started to define it with providing access to 24-hour skilled nursing care. Now, I would have us be very careful with that definition, because skilled nursing care is a very specific type of care delivered in the healthcare system. But the whole idea of having businesses that provide 24-hour healthcare, broaden it a bit, would take care of things like memory care, would take care of things like a rehabilitation facility, things like that, or even convalescent care, which in my definition, that is institutional care. But when we are looking at things like independent living, that's just rental property. That to me is not institutional care. So what I want to throw up before we have Mary go, because everything she has on here is regarding home for the elderly, is maybe we need to have that discussion first as to, well, what types of things should we be having in IPS as permittable, whether it's by conditional use or by right, when it comes to these kinds of things. And then once we agree on that, then we can talk about density, because if we're really focused more on the true, what I would define as institutional care, and come up with that definition, then figure out what would be the appropriate density levels for that. So that's what I wanted to throw out there before Mary gets into the weeds here.
Anyone on the board want to comment?
I mean, we addressed the IPS zone before, and I think where the issue comes in is that we put a pretty vague title when we went through the IPS of what was conditional and what was by right, and we just basically said senior care or what have you. So I do agree with you in the fact that I don't think clinics should be in the IPS, and I don't think some of what companies are getting by as institutional should be in there, since, as you said, there's nothing institutional over some of these senior housing developments, 55 and older apartment complexes and such. So
if somebody brings to us a proposal that is a mixed use or whatever, right, then we can either consider rezoning or consider exception, but it gives us a little more latitude in terms of providing that direction.
No, I mean, I agree with you on that.
I think you brought.
Can you say that again?
I've agreed with you in the past.
It just doesn't have to be.
I think you brought some very good and valid points forward. Mr. Roberts, something we need to consider.
Any other comments? Mary, what do you think?
I think you raised an excellent point. And I applaud you for going back to studying the purpose of the district. That really is always kind of our prevailing guidance. I don't think it's out of step to stop and really reevaluate our thinking about independent living, and whether that is truly an institutional use or not. Aside from the fact that independent living for seniors, independent living for the elderly, aside from the fact that it's for those 55 and up, it really, as Mark likes to say, it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's multifamily housing. Either reflects.
Well, I think for the elderly, like I said, it could even be, we were talking about condominium development, well, elderly housing, but because it's a very vague thing, and I'd rather focus more on the function and the use of it, rather than this really broad category.
The one in between, the development on Capitol between 16 and Forest Grove, that's zoned residential, correct? Right next to Dynex.
No, I believe that property
property is on IPS.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
And obviously it wouldn't affect anything backwards.
No,
Going
I'm just
forward.
saying that they could basically, you know, have free reign because it's something that you could put through on a residential as well as you could put through.
On Pewaukee?
But see, from a broader perspective, you know, again, I think this kind of thing does begin to address some of that multiplex issue that we're wrestling with constantly. Because Mrs. Hill is absolutely correct, you know, 43% of our residential living in this village is rental. And it's the highest in the county, one of the highest in the state.
Well, I think when this was discussed back, when we went through the IPS system, I mean, the IPS zoning, I think everybody had the thought that elderly care would be associated with like assisted living, where you move, you go from there right to there. So I think that's why we kept it in the IPS zone, because it was, you know, it's your first stage going into assisted living, memory care, whatever, you know, you're right there in the same unit.
But if we define it as, from an institutional perspective, that it's facilities that provide 24-hour care, if a proposal comes to us that goes outside of that definition, it gives us a latitude of determining whether we want that or not.
I think it's closing.
Are you looking to take out the elderly housing out of the IPS zone?
Well, I'm saying the way the definitions are there now, it says nursing home and housing for the elderly, we use none of those terms. Now what we do is talk about institutional care that provides 24-hour care. So that could be a rehabilitation facility, not necessarily have to be skilled nursing care.
Especially when we start getting into the densities and percentages being applied to it,
It changes the big time.
right, it throws another wrench into the scope of it, because now you can actually multiply on top of what you would have gotten to a residential area.
Good points.
How does that, Mark, how does that affect the drug, alcohol abuse issue then? If we reword it the way it's being discussed? Would that be?
I want to see how it does end up getting reworded, I guess, to begin with. But that, what you just brought up though, has a different component, which is the Americans with Disability Act implications of that. So I don't think it's easily distinguished just on the basis of that you're asking your question. I think you have to look at it more broadly, which is the other federal acts that come into play with that kind of use.
I suspect though, and you guys can work on the language, it'd be great. But I would suspect though that inpatient drug and alcohol rehab would fit under 24-hour care.
That's pretty
Most likely that would be the case.
Yeah, I would suspect that unless you guys think it's really crappy.
So I guess my question to the board is, do we want to, let's discuss that, unless we've already discussed it, made up our minds, and move forward, or do you want the language changed and brought back to where Mark and Mary can put their heads together and come up with some language that we can approve?
Well, I would say if the commission is in agreement with changing direction, that we throw it back in Mary, because this is now the second time we've given her a hairpin turn.
This is important.
To redraft it based on that. Basically, everything you wrote here then is moot. And you come back, with number 7, not necessarily saying nursing homes, or, those very specific types of care, because those, again, by definition within the healthcare industry are very specific, but keep it more general in terms of facilities or institutions that provide 24-hour medical care.
I would just like to strike the skilled nursing part, the 24-hour care.
But skilled nursing is a very specific definition.
And you don't think it should be in there, that's correct, yeah.
No, I think you should just talk about the function of a facility providing that inpatient 24-hour care, which would fit all those other definitions, but it's a very specific type of care that is institutional in nature.
Instead of calling it out specifically by character, I think it opens up the door a lot.
I do think rather than just tabling this and letting Mary reword I think there are some other parts of this that don't specifically apply to that part that we can address now so that we don't have such a big fight next time, like the densities. Because those will still apply to IPSs regardless.
Well, if we go in that direction, the density would only apply then to those inpatient kinds of facilities.
Right, and I still would like to address those regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I said, I just didn't want it to get tabled real quick, and then let's talk about some of the other things that are in this, because actually Mary put a bunch of work into this one as well, and then we can bring it back with the other wording, if everyone's okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion items. But I do have a question, Mary.
No, discussion. No,
I thought we were gonna.
No,
You said tabling.
No.
That's what you said, table.
I said the only thing I don't want to happen is this to get tabled. Right
Oh,
now.
okay, I misunderstood. I thought you said you wanted to table. Okay.
No, I want to hear some of the other changes and us discuss those, and so that when, it's just putting a cherry on top of rewording the actual items that are applicable to the IPS.
Well, we will want to, you know, look at everything again, to make sure point by point, what's in here is all still applicable.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
When we make these
It all
changes,
still fits
but,
together, right?
we just, you know, hit on an idea about, you know, what do we do when most of these developments come in the form of combined uses? They have